So here's a question for you. In a world that, well, often seems to reward how we perform, how do we actually recognize our authentic truth? Are we really becoming who we are meant to be? Or are we maybe just acting out a role someone else wrote? Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating deep dive. We're looking at a stack of your sources from a series called The Mindset Matrix, specifically an episode they titled The Mask and the Mirror. And our mission really is to unpack this tension between how you're perceived by others and who you genuinely are inside. We're exploring that gap, the space between your outward presence and your inner persona.
It's such a fundamental question, isn't it? And what's really interesting here is how this particular Mindset Matrix episode digs so deep. It looks right into how our identities get formed, specifically how performance and sometimes even just survival shapes them. It examines the really crucial role these social masks play in our lives. But, and this is key, it also pinpoints when those masks can stop being helpful tools and actually become more like a prison.
That's a powerful way to put it. A prison. Okay, so maybe we should start right at the beginning. With the word itself, the source material points out that persona, the term, actually comes from the Latin word for mask.
Exactly.
And that connects to deeper things, doesn't it? Like Jungian archetypes, these sort of universal patterns, and also just our basic human need for, well, social survival. Why is understanding that ancient root important for us today?
It's crucial because it immediately changes how we think about why we wear masks. There's this really profound insight in the source material. It says, the mask is not to deceive others, but to shield the sacred.
Wow. Shield the sacred.
Yeah. Think about that. It's not necessarily about hiding something bad or false. It's more often about protecting what's vulnerable, what's precious inside you. Maybe your deepest feelings or your core beliefs or parts of you that just feel, well, too fragile to put out there all the time. So it really makes you ask yourself, doesn't it? What part of yourself might you be shielding right now?
That completely shifts the perspective. Okay. So from that idea of the protective mask, the source then moves to another really compelling concept, the social mirror. And this draws on some sociological ideas, things like Cooley's looking glass self.
Right. How we see ourselves based on how we think others see us.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And also Goffman's idea of impression management, which basically frames, well, a lot of everyday life as a kind of performance, like we're on stage.
Type of stagecraft, yeah.
Right. But here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit tricky. The source highlights the dangers, the real risks, of getting too caught up in that reflection, too tangled in the audience's expectations. Like, you could actually lose yourself in trying to be what the mirror shows you.
Precisely. And if you connect that thought to the bigger picture, this constant stagecraft, this always managing how you appear, it leads directly to what the source calls the cost of performance. And it's not just a vague idea. They talk about real things like emotional exhaustion, identity fatigue.
Identity fatigue, I can feel that.
Yeah, imagine always being on, always playing that part. It's incredibly draining. And this raises a really important question, I think, about why being truly authentic can sometimes feel so threatening, especially threatening to systems that seem stable, like when our own internal stories about who we are, maybe stories heavily shaped by our family or religious upbringing, race, social class. What happens when your genuine self just doesn't quite fit the role you've been assigned by those forces?
That tension is huge, isn't it, between your inner truth and what the system expects. And that leads us perfectly into the final and maybe the most provocative idea in the material, which the source actually calls breaking the mirror.
Ooh, provocative's right.
Yeah. This part of the material really pushes us to think about a choice, a really crucial choice. It's the choice between visibility, like being seen in the role you perform, and vulnerability. Having the courage to show your actual authentic self, flaws and all. Can we ever really be seen by other people if we're always wearing a mask, always performing? And what kind of transformation, what kind of maybe freedom happens when we decide to shed those masks we've maybe worn for years? So after exploring all of that, what does this really mean for you listening right now as we start to wrap up this deep dive? We kind of journeyed from understanding the ancient reason for masks protection through looking at how society acts like that mirror, reflecting our identity back, sometimes in distorting ways, and finally exploring the very real toll, the cost that constant performing can take on your sense of who you are.
Yeah, and if we boil it down, connect it all. The Mindset Matrix material really seems to emphasize that, okay, yes, masks can be vital. They can protect.
Yeah.
They shield that sacred part we talked about. But understanding why you're wearing a specific mask and being able to consciously decide when it's actually safe or necessary to take it off, That discernment is absolutely crucial if you want to discover your truest, most integrated self. It's about moving from unconscious habit to conscious choice.
That makes a lot of sense. And on that very note, the Mindset Matrix source leaves us with a really powerful prompt for reflection, something for you to really sit with, maybe journal about on your own. The question is, what part of my identity feels like performance? And who taught me it was necessary?
That's a deep one.
It is. Or maybe put another way, what am I performing and for whom? We really encourage you to maybe take some quiet time, think about the masks you might wear, in your family, maybe work, or even within your faith community, perhaps. Where do they show up?
Absolutely. And building on that, if you find yourself curious, wanting to explore these ideas even more, the original sources mentioned point towards some really foundational work. There's Irving Goffman's The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life that really unpacks the whole stagecraft thing in detail.
Yeah.
And also Carl Jung's The Undiscovered Self, which goes deep into that individual journey of finding yourself beyond the persona.
Great suggestions. And the original Mindset Matrix material we drew from, it had this beautiful, almost poetic closing thought for this topic, a really profound idea to carry with you. It was, you are not becoming someone new. You are remembering someone ancient.
Wow, that's powerful. And to connect that, beautiful idea to actually living it, the source added this practical piece and redesigning the structures that help that memory become reality.
Remembering someone ancient and redesigning the structures. That really is a powerful thought to carry with you as you continue your own deep dive, your own exploration into the fascinating architecture of your identity.